So this statement now jumps from paragraph 17 to paragraph 23, and we continue on in the words of Detective Senior Constable Matthew Reason. I continued to monitor the social media activity of Mr. Kiskonen, Mr. Spires, and the UKOA community as a part of my monitoring and investigation activities for the Fixated Persons Investigation Unit. Over a period of months, it's a bit fixated, isn't it? I observed increased activity and rhetoric indicating that Mr. Kiskonen and Mr. Spires were beginning to formalise the UKOA community and were increasingly advising their members that they were above the law. And Jesus kind of said, didn't come to break the law, we came to fulfill it. As detailed above, Mr. Kiskonen posted a number of videos specifically referring to the police. From May to July 2020, I was aware that Detective Senior Constable Gatwood was receiving emails from Mr. Kiskonen. These emails caused both Detective Senior Constable James Gatwood and I, Matthew Reason, to form the opinion that Mr. Kiskonen was becoming increasingly radical. As he was becoming increasingly passionate about his beliefs, strident in his opinions, and increasingly focused on his supposed immunity from the law and on the eventual execution of traitors, and was attempting to recruit Detective Senior Constable Gatwood into UKOA. There's an interesting prospect of something that I was completely unaware of. Did he answer the questions? Are there still open questions at law that you use force instead of mind to address? 24. I also became aware of plans to hold a UKOA open quote Australia Day close quote ceremony on the 31st July 2020. Mr. Kiskonen's YouTube video indicates that Mr. Kiskonen was working at an increasingly frantic pace to get preparations in place for this event. He referred to not having had enough sleep on a number of occasions and spoke a number of times about how busy he was. I am aware that he was writing speeches, having brochures printed, ordering flags, designing ceremonies, and liaising with individuals in a number of other states. His level of activity at this time was noticeably higher. It's pretty clear that your activity, Mr. Matthew Reason, was higher than everyone else's, being so fixated on this. You could have just answered questions instead of turning the cheek and going into this attack, and its slimy attack too. 25. On 23 July 2020, Detective Senior Constable James Gatwood showed me an email response that he intended to send to Mr. Kiskonen, in which he responded to Mr. Kiskonen's request to explain why he did not believe in the UKOA doctrine. I agreed with Detective Senior Constable Gatwood that it was important to attempt to resolve this issue in Mr. Kiskonen's mind to prevent him from believing he had support for his ideas within New South Wales Police. We have had indication of their attempt to bring this before a psychiatrist, at which they are using specific language in their bid to have that succeed for the state. It's a very dark issue when a police officer then, in his very own statement, says, "It was important to attempt to resolve this issue in Mr. Kiskonen's mind, to prevent him from believing." All they had to do was answer questions. They've turned that into a situation where they can use quackery or hearsay. 26. On 27 July 2020, as I foresaw the potential for violent confrontation, I advised... It's a kind of weird language, Mr. Matthew Reason. As I foresaw the potential for me to jump in and cause a melee, I advised other relevant law enforcement agencies of the plans of UKOA to attend major war memorials in Australian capitals and conduct various ceremonies, remove any national flags there, and raise their own red ensign in its place. The fact that you can foresee things and then want to reprogram someone's doctrine, it puts this whole mind game at a different level when you can see into the future, but someone's not allowed to see into the past. There was no directive to take down any national flags at any war memorials. There is actually evidence of people taking flagpoles with them so that they could raise red ensigns in memorial of the Anzac. 27. Also on 27 July, Mr. Kiskonen posted a video on YouTube entitled, open quote, "Notice to Police," close quote, in which he appeared to make a threat towards Detective Gatwood and to police generally. Was Detective Gatwood named? I don't know this video. At this time, I began preparations to arrest Mr. Kiskonen and took over the role of officer in charge from Detective Gatwood. I took over. At this time, I began preparations to arrest Mr. Kiskonen and took over the role of officer in charge from Detective Gatwood. You're the detective senior constable. He's a detective senior constable. Who's in charge of what exactly? The investigation activities for the Fixated Persons Investigation Unit, which you were fixated upon for a period of months, observing increased activity and rhetoric, participating in that activity to generate that rhetoric, perhaps. 1. Affidavit DSC Matthew Reason, dated 1st of July 2021, displaying paragraphs 6 through 17, 23 through 27.